Well, it is time now for us to take a look at some of our national and international news for this Wednesday morning. It is, after all, January 25th, 2017. First and foremost, did you know that China has placed intercontinental ballistic missiles on their border with Russia? Well, this happened apparently earlier this week, but Russia is not concerned because the range is in the neighborhood of 12,000 kilometers. Whereas you look at where they put them, all of Russia is within about 3,000 to 6,000 kilometers, basically part of the dead zone, meaning that it's too close to hit Russia. So therefore, Russia believes that China has placed those missiles there in order to strike Canada, Europe, and the United States. Trump, if you didn't hear this, the president has ordered the revival of the Keystone XL and Dakota access pipelines, and those who have been protesting have now vowed to get back into the way of the projects. They've talked about doing it through lawsuits. They've talked about doing it through the laws of the halls of Congress, and they've talked about doing it actually in the path of the pipeline themselves. We're going to be seeing this probably go on now for quite some time. They had hoped that with the delay from the department, with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers saying that they had withdrawn the permit, now taking it to an environmental impact statement, that it was going to take a really long time for it to move forward. Now, with President Trump sending this executive order, it's pushing it forward again, and so they're going to get back there in the field and protest with their bodies right there in the way. Speaking of in the way, Britain is on its way out of Europe. A straightforward Brexit bill is likely to be published this week. They're talking about maybe Thursday, something that's going to basically make it, straightforward, the Britain out of the EU. More on the Trump presidency. He's likely to make a Supreme Court appointment early next week. He's meeting with a bipartisan group of senators to see what both sides want. They basically need just 8 Democrats to go along with him, unless they decide to change the rules. In a simple majority, they'll be able to get whoever he wants in the Supreme Court. The latest claim from the Trump camp about the voter fraud is something that was talked about on Tuesday. He said, once again, that millions of illegal immigrants voted in the election. They said it is, quote, based on evidence. Still haven't produced any of that evidence. A judge has ordered the release of the footage showing the fatal 2012 shooting of a suspect by Charlotte police. A North Carolina judge ruling after the request from a newspaper, Freedom of Information Act and all that stuff, hey, can we see the footage? And a judge has said, yes, you should be able to see this footage. So we should hear more about that, after we've had conflicting reports from the police and from the family of the man who was killed. Russian bombers have destroyed an Islamic State armed depot and ammunition dump. Apparently 6 bombers went out there after it and completely obliterated it. Israel has approved plans for 2,500 new settlement homes in West Bank, something which the Palestinian folks there have said is putting a roadblock in the way to peace, because they want that land for their new state. A new analyst say that the current budget plan from the Trump administration, as he's talked about cutting the budget, but also growing infrastructure, it's going to add somewhere in the neighborhood of $6 trillion to the U.S. deficit. Brazil has seen a sharp rise in the number of yellow fever cases, up into the 60s now, after only a grand total of 7 last year. And the avalanche death toll in Italy has now risen again. In that same area, now 6 people died in a helicopter crash nearby. Also, the members of the Trans-Pacific Partnership looking about who's going to replace the USA, maybe nobody, and we're likely to see the death of that completely sometime in the coming months. Also, there are 5 groups currently working to reach the moon. Did you know this? Actually kind of a cool thing. There's a Japanese group, there's a U.S. group, there's an Israeli group, there's an international group, and there's one other one. All of these are the finalists. Basically, they have to launch by the end of this year in order to get the prize money that's been offered. It's the Google space race, trying to get back to the moon. We'll be keeping our eyes on that. I wonder if it'll ring like a bell when they land on it again. That's what we've got for our national and international news today. My commentary is going to focus on who do you trust? Where is your hope? See what you think about that. If you like what I'm doing, consider supporting me either through Patreon or by buying a direct subscription at my website, radiofreespeech.com. If you have a topic for me, something you'd like me to touch on a commentary or a news tip, send me an email, steve@radiofreespeech.com.